What is going on, fight fans? I am Jake Lippman here with Combat Sports Today, and today's interview guest is Shah Kamali. Shah is a top-level heavyweight prospect training out of Fight Zone London. He's got a fight coming up with Brave not this Saturday, next Saturday, June 7th, in Slovenia. He's going in enemy territory, so that'll be fun. But we do know there's a lot on the horizon for Shah. He's 10-0 in his career. 4-0 as a pro, 6-0 as an amateur, 10 first-round finishes. So we're really looking forward to talking to him, not just an exciting fighter, but an exciting person. Shah, how are you today?
I'm great, Jake. Thank you for having me. And just buzzing, really.
Absolutely, and everything should be buzzing for you. I know your teammate Mario Pinto, he's been surging through the UFC of late. You got a veteran in Stuart Austin in your corner typically, and you're in the heavyweight division, which right now is very exciting. It might be a little stale, some might say, due to what's happening at the top of the UFC heavyweight division. So let me give you a layup here. Talk to me about your thoughts on the Tom Aspinall-Jon Jones fight. Is it even going to happen?
I believe not. I think Jon Jones is done. He's done. He knows that he's coming up against younger guys who are more hungry, who have nothing much to lose. Whereas for Jon Jones, if he ends his career on a loss, it kind of diminishes all the work that he's done in his career. So he knows that, and he's smart. The only way it will happen if they throw an exorbitant amount of money at him. I'm talking 40, 50, 60 million. And I don't think the UFC are willing to pay that because they run a tight ship, and they're not going to do that to one of their biggest stars. So it sucks for Tom. They're kind of wasting his prime away. He should be fighting. He's the longest interim heavyweight champ ever, overtaking I think Henan Barao, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, Jon Jones is he's just playing games, isn't it? I feel bad for Tom.
And it seems like John's having fun. I know you mentioned Tom, longest reigning interim champ. Jon, somehow with one title defense off a guy that didn't have any wins, but that's a different point. He's the longest reigning heavyweight champ of all time with just one defense. So it's pretty interesting to take a look at the situation going on in the heavyweight division. And obviously, Tom being a fellow countryman and also being your division, I think your eyes are keenly peeled on what's going on at the heavyweight division. So before we move forward, I do just want to get your prediction. If we're wrong and the fight happens, what happens in the Aspinall-Jones fight?
I think Tom might just start Jon Jones. I think whenever it comes to age differentials, I always go for the younger guy. And that has always been my go-to. I always go for the younger guy. When you get older, especially like in the most recent ones, Topuria versus Volk, Topuria versus Max Holloway. Like, Topuria is a young guy. He's only like 1 year older than me or 2 years older than me. And he's fighting guys who are mid-30s. Your reaction time slow down. And I know heavyweight, it doesn't matter much about reaction time, but Tom's in his prime. Tom's in his prime. So I always go for the younger guy. It's nothing against skills, but it's just they slow down. Just it's not something where you can make that up.
No, I was gonna say that's Tom's skill. Like, his skill set is just being a little bit quicker than you with the same amount of power as you.
Yeah, and at heavyweight, that's rare. Coming in and out at that speed that he does, it's unique. Like, he's a monster. Like that, to do that at that size, he's 120. I think he's a little bit below the limit. I think. Yeah, to do that at that size is scary, man. It's scary.
Yeah, and I know he doesn't cut weight. Do you cut weight to get to the heavyweight limit?
No. I hover around 110, 111. But around fight time, I'm just a little bit less than that, usually.
Okay, and forgive me, I'm American. Do you know what that is in pounds?
Pounds, 240 pounds, something like that.
Okay. So you're still a bulky heavyweight, just like Tom is, where you don't need to cut, but you also don't need to cut down all the way to light heavyweight because you're naturally heavyweight.
Yeah. That's a big cut. That's a big cut. I know some light heavyweights, like I know I've heard Rakic cuts down from crazy amounts of weight. But I've cut weight like once for like a little catchweight fight, but that was my first and last experience doing that. That's crazy. I don't know how guys do it.
And you know what? You had the exact same answer as the guy we were just talking about, Tom Aspinall. He was talking to Demetrius Johnson on the Mighty Cast the other day, and he was saying he tried to weigh in at light heavyweight once when he was 18, and he didn't make the weight. And he's like, I'm never doing that again.
It's torture. I don't know how some of the lighter guys do it, man. They got it's crazy. Weight cutting is a crazy game.
So then talk to me. What are you like the general concept of weight cutting? What are your thoughts on it? Is it bad? Is it good? Should we go to something like one championship where you're not allowed to get rid of all your water? Like, what are your thoughts on cutting weight in general?
I think it's very bad for the fighters just in general. I think for health purposes, because your brain is losing a lot of weight, and you have a short period to rehydrate, and it's very dangerous. But people are going to try and get as many advantages as they can, and I think it's hard to get rid of it. I think one championship with their rehydration clauses, I think a lot of their fighters break the rehydration clause. No, like a lot of fighters fail it just because they rehydrate too much, or it's not going to stop it. I think ultimately what could be done is introducing new weight divisions, because I know they were talking about the 165 division.
Yeah,
because from lightweight to welter is 15 pound.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot, and the other weight class are only about 10 pounds. So, I think they don't want to dilute the belts because people are going to try and hover between, and it just becomes a bit of a mess. But a lot of guys, like for example, Ian Gary, he could cut down to a 165 pound division very easily, and he would probably be the champ at that weight. At 170, he's not cutting much. He's probably cutting. I think I saw his weigh-in and rehydration. He's only like 3 or 4 kilos heavier, which is ridiculous. Like, so for guys like that who are in the welterweight division that don't cut much, that would be perfect for them, and it'd be perfect for the lightweights that cut too much. So something like that could probably just alleviate a lot of the problems related to weight cutting.
Absolutely. And I think you make an interesting point. I mean, when you look at a guy like Ian Gary, an opponent that he might be facing in the future, a guy like Joaquin Buckley, they're both fighting at 170, but Ian Gary could probably use with cutting 5 more pounds, and Joaquin Buckley could probably use saving the 5 pounds. So I see exactly what you're saying, where really it would make sense. I mean, yes, it might dilute talent slightly, but it would make sense to split up the divisions, limit the cutting a little bit. Because that would really prioritize the fighter's health. So I like that idea. Now, I don't want to take this whole time talking about the UFC, other weight divisions, other fighters. We're here to talk about you, and you've got a big fight coming up. So I want to introduce the fans to your style, who you are as a person. I think the biggest place to start is reminding everybody, like I did at the top, that you're 10-0. You held an amateur belt. You're 4-0 now as a pro. You're knocking everybody out. I believe you only have one submission, a guillotine. And even that came within a minute. So you're fun, you're exciting. You kind of move in there a little bit like Tom Aspinall. So that's why I wanted to talk about that before. You're quick, you got heavy hands, you love throwing the leg kicks. You're a great striker, and I've seen lots of improvements on the ground as well. So talk to me a little bit about your style and kind of how you qualify who you are as a fighter.
I think definitely I've always been a fast starter, especially in my early fights, but now I'm trying to because as the levels go up, you might not be able to get away with it as much, with the guys who are prepared for that, who, they've got teams behind them, game plans, they've seen a lot more of your footage, so they know what to expect. So I think I'm trying to be a smarter fighter now. So I've always been aggressive though. I've always been aggressive. If I get a chance, if you give me an inch, I'm going to take a mile, So with me, I know all I have to do is just hit you once. If I land, then I know you're going to be in trouble. I've always known that. And I have complete belief in my ability to problem solve, really and truly. My ability to problem solve is what separates me from other fighters, and I think this is a problem-solving game. And physical attributes is one component of it. You know, it helps having heavy hands, it helps having knockout power, but you know, fights can go anywhere, and I'm prepared anywhere it goes. So that's what I would say about myself.
Absolutely. I think that's super important. Obviously, you're training with some really great big guys, talented guys. We already mentioned Pinto and Stuart Austin. I know there's a couple other big guys in the gym. And I know London, England, especially just as a country, the sport's been expanding. The bigger weight classes have been, I know they've been kind of ganging up of sorts and kind of all training together. So everybody gets better. So I'm sure you're feeding into that energy and it's going with you. So talk to me a little bit, about that to you, your training partners, the people you're working with. How have you seen MMA expand in your region, and how has that impacted you?
Do you know what? It's expanded dramatically, because when I first started training MMA 7 years ago, 6-7 years ago, BJJ at first, rather, at my gym particularly, I'm talking about, it was more hobbyist kind of thing. It was more hobbyist, and then a lot as it progressed after COVID. I think there was a little bit of a boom, because I think maybe in COVID people were just watching the UFC events that they were putting out, and maybe they were thinking, I want to do something like this. But yeah, I think what has happened since, like the amount of people that have come into the gym and started training and then started to compete, is amazing, especially like big guys. So for example, I'm so grateful to have teammates like Mario and all the other guys that come in and help, because especially for heavyweight, it's rare to have big guys training. You know, Tom Aspinall didn't always have his big team. He was training with Darren Till for the longest part of his, his early career. He was training with a welterweight. So when you have big guys that you're training with, you get to really understand what you can get away with, because if you're training with smaller guys, you can get away with a lot. You can just use your big guy strength, you can use your big guy power, and then when you realize when there's other big guys putting it on you, you can't just pop up and escape. So I think the scene is really on its way up, and I think it's a wider cultural shift. People are trying to return back to traditional forms of, I don't know, exercise, I guess. I think it's just it's a cultural shift in a sense as well, where in the 2000s, 2010s, it might have been seen as, I don't know, people were just getting a bit feminized or something like that, Now they want to reclaim it, I think. So, it comes with the whole, I don't know, the rise of Tate and whatnot. I think people are trying to get into a little bit of sports and fighting because of that, maybe. But it's all positive, when they get to the gym, they realize that the only way you're going to make it is through hard work. And I think gyms especially, like, it weeds out bad culture, because the people that think it's going to be easy, they're not going to make it,
And training is hard. I mean, it's exhausting on the body, both physically and mentally. I think I want to talk to you a little bit about the mental side of the game, because I know for you, it's been quick in there. I mean, you're out of the fight. I mean, we don't get paid by the hour, so it's better for you to get out quick. But I mean, you're getting out of there quick, but you're seeing a lot of situations, and it's clear you're comfortable, whether it's against the cage, whether it's on the ground. So how are you getting these different looks to prepare you as someone that's young in your career with heavy hands, expecting people to bring that pressure to you? How are you figuring out how to prepare, knowing that it's going to be a short fight either way?
I think we just train a lot of situational stuff. We train a lot of worst case scenarios as well. I think John Danaher emphasizes that a lot as well when he's with the team he's coaching. When you're comfortable in the worst case scenarios, you don't have that kind of fear anymore. So what we do is we train every situation, every thing, so we're mentally prepared for it, and we're not trying to train to get to that position. We're trying to train, if it happens, what do we do? So it's not a surprise. I think a lot of people, what happens is they get in a position in a fight and they're surprised. Oh no, let's say I've been taken down. Oh no, I'm against the cage. I don't want to be here. and then they freeze and panic in that moment. But you have to kind of accept things as they are. You know, you have to accept, okay, I'm in this position. What can I do now? How can I improve my position? It's really breaking it down into the smallest parts and understanding that there's always something you can do. Even, for example, when you're on your feet, right, and you're standing in front of someone, and sometimes what happens with fighters is they just freeze in front of each other. But the real smart fighters and the great fighters, what they do is they do just subtle things like a feint or they step or they move, you know? Even when they're tired, it becomes automatic, you know? So like if you watch any of Adesanya's fights, you know, they're doing something, they're moving, you know, that's how they've been trained.
Interesting. And it's that constant state of motion that kind of allows you to be in your flow state and force the confusion on your opponent.
Exactly.
I like that a lot. And I think when we talk about it, I mean, your opponents have just gotten higher and higher level. They're only getting harder from this point forward. The stage is only getting bigger and brighter as we're getting to the hopeful goal, which I believe for you will be the UFC. So talk to me a little bit how you got started. I know we were talking off camera and you said you only got into the sport around 2018 and then you started watching it after it. So talk to me about kind of how you got started in MMA.
The first ever, so when I was younger, I used to really love boxing. And when I was up on like YouTube, early days of YouTube, it was just watching Muhammad Ali and Roy Jones Jr. and Mike Tyson. Roy Jones Jr. was my favorite boxer because he was just, when I was watching him and just doing stuff in that ring, like throwing 3 hooks in a row, I was like, this guy is crazy. This guy's crazy, you know? So when I was watching that stuff, I was always in awe. And then, I don't know, the first time I ever got introduced to MMA was watching Fedor. Watching the Fedor clip, right? It was a highlight video of Fedor, and I was thinking, how is this fat, tubby guy just knocking out these monsters? Because he's flatlining these guys, and like even the fight versus what's his name, Kevin Randleman, where he gets flipped on his head, and then he finishes the guy. You know, I'm just thinking, how is that possible? You know, but that was when I was probably around 15, 16. And then around 2018 or so, I was like, it was when I was starting university, and I thought, you know, I got a lot of free time. Let me try learn a new skill, you know, because I don't want to just be bored with my time. And I was always into fitness and, you know, weights and general health. And I thought, you know what, let me see what else I can do with my body, you know, learning a skill, learning how to fight, you know, it's important. So I found the closest gym to me, which was Fight Zone. And I got on my bike, rode down for a trial session. And I was just hooked ever since, you know. I really was fascinated. The first time I went there, I bought a gi like the next day off Amazon. And then I just started training. Initially I just started training in the gi. I was religious with it though. It was like 3 times a day, 2 times a day I was doing I was training, and then there would always be the MMA that used to go on the other side of the mats. And I used to see, obviously, my coach Stuart at the time, he was teaching, and it just looked fun. And I just wanted to try it just to become more of a well-rounded athlete, you know, because you don't want to be that guy that knows how to roll around on the floor, but if it's standing, you don't know what to do. So I first got started, and then I was always just fascinated by it, and I still am. That's what keeps me going, really. Every moment, everywhere I go, I'm always thinking in my mind about positions, about, okay, what can I do better in sparring? What went wrong in sparring? How can I improve? I'm always thinking about that. And that's what keeps me going. It's just the curiosity and the fascination with it. And yeah, I just love the sport, man.
And it seems like it caught like wildfire and kept going, because I'm shocked to hear that you started with BJJ, because you seem like such a natural striker in there. So talk to me a little bit about your evolution of the striking game. What got you started with the striking game and allowing you to display those heavy hands you got?
Do you know what? For the my amateur debut is not out anywhere, I think. But the first fight I did, I went for a takedown within the first like 5 seconds or 10 seconds. So I was not really comfortable striking, right? And then in my second amateur fight, the guy was a grappler, and he was trying to grapple me, and I hit him with one punch, and it rocked him, and then I finished the fight soon after. But then I realized, oh, I got power in my hands. You know, I knew I had it, but then I realized, okay, I'm kind of naturally just throwing this, like, it's natural to me. It's not even, I'm not even thinking, and I don't feel stiff at all when I'm throwing. You know, some people when they're throwing, they feel stiff, they lock up. But for me, it felt natural. And then I started working with my striking coach more, Rowan Katsu, who's at Fight City Gym, where I also train at. And I just started working my hands more and more and more from there. So that initially was obviously just to make my grappling more effective, so I can strike to grapple. But now I think it's coming and developing into more of its own thing, you know, where I have a full game, you know, full arsenal. And obviously the fight starts on the feet. So yeah, I think it's just been developing from that moment there, yeah.
Right. Well, coming from an independent third party who's a little bit newer to Shah Kamali, I mean, I think a lot of your opponents are going to look at him and be like, wow, that's a scary striker. And you look natural out there. So I think you might be able to throw some people off with that hidden trick in your back pocket of that grappling. So that'll always help you, I think.
Definitely. I think but they see the submission on the record, so they must think, you know, this guy can grapple as well.
Yeah, and they must be scared. I mean, they must not want to do it because it seems like some of your most recent opponents kind of were forced into grappling. Your last opponent tried to take it to the ground. I believe he caught a kick. You got right back up, destroyed his leg, took him out. The opponent before that, I was practicing his name before the interview. I don't think I'm going to get it, but your opponent before him, yeah, he tried to get you up against the cage. You very calmly got out of that position, hit him with a nice overhand right on the temple, night, end of the night. So I think it's really showing your development and showing how patient and poised you are in these tough positions. And that's going to take you a long way. And I think the first time that maybe the larger scale audience is going to get to experience that is not this Saturday, next Saturday, June 7th. I mentioned it at the top. You're going to Slovenia. You're fighting a Slovenian. I also was practicing his name, but I don't think I'm going to get it right. So I'm going to save my respect there and not try my best and fail. But you're going into enemy territory. He's got a similar record as you. I believe he's 4-0-1. You're 4-0-0. So this is a really, really tough test for you. Just talk to me a little bit about stepping into enemy territory, this new opponent, and this new show, going to Brave, which is a little bit of a big promotion.
Yeah, it's one of the ones just underneath, like, it's much bigger than a regional show. They're international, you know. It's bigger than that. They've a lot of guys fighting in the UFC. They came off fighting off Brave, like for example, Ilia Topuria is the champ. He fought in Brave I think a few times. Stepping into any enemy territory, I don't care. Honestly, it doesn't affect me. I've always felt comfortable anywhere. I can fight anywhere in the world. For a lot of fighters, I think a lot of UK fighters, they don't like going outside of the UK. But if you want to get to the big leagues, you're going to have to do that anyway. So I want to fight all around the world, and just, I don't care if it's his territory, whatever. I don't care. It doesn't matter. End of the day, it's a cage, whatever, 20 foot, 24 foot cage. You're going to step in there and we're going to fight. All that matters at the end of the day is my skill versus his skill. And we're going to see who comes out on top. Everything else is just noise for me. So, like, when people say you're going to enemy territory, you know, like, it doesn't affect me in any sort of way. If the crowd is booing me, I don't care. It's noise. End of the day, I can interpret it how I want. It's energy. They're giving me energy. If they do nothing, it doesn't matter. I don't care. They can cheer for him. It doesn't make a difference for me. You know, I've got my mission. I've got my goal, and I'm going to execute on that day, on that night. So that's it for me. I think, yeah, it might affect other fighters when they're doing that, but for me, it doesn't. I've fought in enemy territory before, and it's never been a problem.
And that must be a trait of some of you UK guys who just don't care. You're here for the scrap. It doesn't matter. And I think that's something that I'm very impressed with all of the guys, not just you, Mario Pinto, Tom Aspinall, all the guys that I'm seeing, Patty Pimblett, all the guys coming from that territory. They just don't care. The moment's never too bright. And I think that's very, very impressive. And I'm looking forward to this fight. I think the masses should be. It's the last fight before the 2 title fights. So I guess that's called the featured fight, right? So basically the main event before the main event. We're talking about, and I'm going to give it a try. Miha Frilic is your opponent.
Miha Frilic, yeah, you said it right. I'm pretty sure that's right, yeah.
Not too bad for my first time saying it out loud. But Miha Frilic, he's also a first-round finisher. So tell the fans what you expect from this fight coming up here, because I'm expecting fireworks.
Listen, it's going to be explosive. I know that. But listen, I believe I can bang with anybody in the world. And if he wants to bang with me that night, then he's better, he better be prepared, because when I hit him, he's gonna feel the big banger power, and it's what the fans are gonna expect. But you know what? I feel like he's gonna be a bit cautious of my power. I feel like he's gonna be a bit cautious because I've seen his fights. I've seen how he hits. He hits hard. He does hit hard, but when I hit people, it's different. It is different. And you can see that people, one touch, it's like I've got that touch of death power. So, we're going to see that on display.
Absolutely. And I can't wait to see it again. I think everybody's ready for it. So just one more time, it's that third to last fight of the night on the Brave card on June 7th. Definitely don't miss it. It's going to be a banger. I need you to educate me, though, real quick. I know Mario says this. What's his saying? Big bang and bosh?
Bing bang bosh.
Bing bang bosh. All right, so we're going to see some bing bang bosh. What does that mean for someone that doesn't understand? What does it mean?
Bing bang bosh. It's like a UK. It's like a bit of like Cockney rhyming slang, I guess.
Okay.
Usually it would be like bish bash bosh, but he made it his own by saying bing bang bosh, and it's just something that he came up with. I guess he put his own little spin on it.
I like it, for the record.
Yeah. It's nice. It's good. He said it a few times when he fought on Contenders, I think.
Yeah, he said it after Contender, and then after his debut fight. I just remember I started dying laughing. I was like, this guy has the it factor.
Yeah. Because we always in the gym, we're always just talking rubbish with each other, so it just naturally comes out when we're on the mic.
I mean, after all the hard work pays off, you got to let it out a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
So I got a couple more questions for you. We'll keep it easy. We'll wrap it up, and we'll let the fans know where to find you. But I got 2 questions for you. The first, talk to me about that beard. It seems like you've been growing it out for quite a long time. Talk to me about the beard and the origin.
The origin story. Do you know what? It was always I was always trying to grow it out, and then what is it called? I used to be just rough and patchy, and I kept it shaved for a while. I think I started growing it out when I was about probably around 17, 18. I started fully growing it out. And then from then on, just kept it in check for now, Just keeping it nice and groomed.
That's 8, 9 years old of a beard right there?
Yeah.
That's impressive. And so I don't know where you get that from. I don't know if the beard was a you thing or something that come in your family and you're like, I need to keep it going. But I do want to talk about your family and your background a little bit.
Yes.
I know you represent Bangladesh and you're training out of London, but I know Bangladesh and that's very important to you. So talk to me a little bit about your origin and, your roots.
It's very important. I'm glad you mentioned that, actually, because, I get to talk about my family and my story, really. So my family came over. So my granddad came over to the UK in the 1950s, and obviously post World War II. And he was just like a labourer, part of the post World War II rebuild of the country. Because a lot of it was damaged in the war by the Germans. So he was helping out and always coming from the UK back to Bangladesh to the UK. And then I think in the 80s, mid 80s, he moved a lot of my family over. Oh, wow. Right. And then my mum came over in 1992.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then my dad. So my parents got married back home in Bangladesh, and then they came over. My dad came in 1995. So that's their story. Of course, I was then born here, but it's a major thing. Why I represent Bangladesh is because that's my obviously ancestral homeland, and there's a lot of Bangladeshis all over the world, and a lot of them don't live in Bangladesh nowadays. They live in their families growing up in, Sweden, Norway, UK, America, and it's important for me to represent them, because we don't have a lot of sports people that are in, fighting sports or whatever it may be, football. Just, sports isn't a emphasis on you when you're younger. It's always education, But for me, I did get an education. I did go to university, and I did study. I value education highly, but at the same time, I want to show my people, from my background, even other backgrounds. It doesn't matter where you're from. You can make it if you persevere, you try, and you go for it. Because it's like because there's no one that's doing it, no one believes in it. It's like a catch-22 kind of sort of thing, But now I'm proving that I'm from my background, I can do it. So why can't you? Whatever field that you want to do, just because there's no one that's from your background, you can be the first. You can do it. So I want to continue to kind of inspire my people, my community, because there's a lot of Bangladeshis that are in London, and a lot of kids growing up, and kids need to see that for their own self-esteem. They need to see that, someone that looks like me, someone that speaks like me, someone's from maybe the same school, they can achieve things. So it's very, very important for me that I give that back to my community,
No, that's awesome. And that right there, I mean, shows where your pride, your passion, your drive and determination, where it all comes from. And I'm sure that's a part of the goal along the way, is to rep that flag and make it known, not just to Bangladeshis in Bangladesh, but all across the world, that you guys are on the map. So I do have a couple follow-up questions. I know I said two, but now I got two more.
No, it's fine. Keep going.
What'd you study?
I studied electronic and electrical engineering at university.
Nice. Now, do you use it at all, or are you full-time fighting?
Full-time fighting and coaching.
Nice. Oh, and you're coaching too.
Yes.
Well, now I got another follow-up question. How do you think coaching is helping you as a fighter?
It massively helps. Because when I'm coaching my students, I'm essentially just talking to myself, really. I'm walking myself through the move, the technique, and reminding myself, like how to do this move and why it's important. Because I always ask questions, I always ask them questions. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? And by doing that, I'm getting different perspectives, because the students are fresher minds, right? I'm doing something, and you might have blind spots that you don't know about, but someone might ask a question and it might be thought-provoking, and you're like, okay, now they've asked me a question, I've got to figure that out now, because I don't have all the answers. I'm still learning myself. I'll forever be a student. So when you get that kind of feedback, I think it should be a loop. You should teach, learn, and that's how you get better.
Well, that sounded very engineer-like, almost like an electrical loop. Just
exactly.
So it seems like the skills, they correlate, they go hand in hand, and I'm sure the perspective is the biggest thing of it all.
Yes, definitely.
No, that's awesome. And you're helping the sport grow. I do have another question though about growth. Do we go back and forth to Bangladesh still?
I've been twice in my life. I haven't been able to go back as of recent, just because fight camps, and it's difficult to kind of get that time to go. And if I do go, I would want to go with my family, and that's another thing where my dad's not in the best of health, so it's hard to kind of fly him out. So I do want to go back more. I got family back there that that want to see me. And of course, people that are fans of me, there's a massive fan base over there.
Oh yeah, because I think we might have to have a conversation after you win, because I want to hear about all the things that you want to do in Bangladesh and all the things that you are seeing for the growth of mixed martial arts, maybe not just in Bangladesh, but for Bangladeshis all across the world. So we might need to get that call going on when you're a little bit further in your career. For the sake of time, though, I do have one last question for you today. What do you think a win this upcoming Saturday, June 7th, what do you think a win there does for you? I know Dana White Contender Series is right around the corner. So what's next for Shah Kamali with a big win here next Saturday?
I think a big win does a lot. I think obviously the immediate goal would probably be, Dana White's Contender Series. I'm not thinking about it much. I just want to get the win done, and then from then I can see my prospects. But definitely, I think Dana White's Contender Series is close.
Well, June 7th is even closer. Shah Kamali is stepping into the cage here in enemy territory in Slovenia. We're going to hear Big Bang and Bosch coming from us here shortly. But Shah, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate you coming on to get a nice interview going on here when you're super busy in the middle of fight camp. Please let the fans know where they can find you and how to stick along through your journey.
You can find me on Instagram, ShahK01. Find me on TikTok, just type in Shah Kamali. I think YouTube as well. I'm trying to upload some more vlogs so that they can see behind the scenes of fight camp, how it's like. So you can get a bit more of an insight into, the daily grind. And just follow me on all socials, keep up to date.
Absolutely. So give my guy a follow. Make sure you tune into his fight and leave a like on this video, and leave any comments below with any questions you may have. But Shah, as always, it's an absolute pleasure having you on. I'm wishing you the greatest of luck here in your fight, and I can't wait to share this with the world. Any final words?
No, just thank you. Pleasure. The interview is great. I think, you asked a lot of questions that I enjoyed answering, and can't wait for the people to see it.
Absolutely. I appreciate it very much. Thank you all for watching at home. And with that being said, tune in on June 7th. We can't wait to see you next time. Have a great day.